definitely a contender, without a doubt. I mean, it's definitely there. Baker and the gang have upped the ante, made this team an unbelievable team and a team you have to prepare for and take serious. And I think that moving forward, without a doubt, I can see a lot more playoff games between us. And I'll just take it one day at a time and hope for it. But I think that the Browns and Chiefs are definitely neck and neck for sure.
Boy, so much for sucking up to Patrick Mahomes. Remember when we had Travis Kelce as one of the top wingmen? Mahomes is part owner of the Royals. What are you doing with the Indians gear on? Although we know what he's doing. He's pandering, and that puts Travis Kelce's comments into perspective. He was in Cleveland when he said that he regards the Browns as a top contender to the Chiefs, and they start the season playing each other. I don't think that that's necessarily a great thing for the Browns, but if you're going to catch the Chiefs, I don't know. I think you'd rather catch him in the middle of October when maybe they're not paying the kind of attention they'd be paying to week one. Andy Reid's so good when he has 2 weeks to get ready. Give him 7 months to get ready. I think he's gonna have his guys ready for whatever the Browns may do, Chris. But I don't know. Are you buying this from Kelce?
I am. I'm buying it. I think we need to. I think Cleveland's the real deal. I really do. You look at the football team on paper. There's really not a weakness of the team. They've gotten better in the offseason in the areas they needed to address. There's no doubt about that. It's year 2 in the system. Odell Beckham Jr. should be back and healthy. Yes, the window's here. It's legit, and you're right. Andy Reid's a magic man as far as week ones are concerned and all those type of things. But, man, it won't be easy. Not with this running attack coming to town and everything that they can do with this Cleveland football team. So no, I think the time has arrived, right? I don't say playoff window. I think Cleveland is clearly in the Super Bowl window, have a Super Bowl football team, and wouldn't be shocked if they were there, come February next year.
We saw what happened 2 years ago when the bar was high for the Browns, and they had one of their best seasons in years. Of course, the bar was low from that perspective, but people thought they'd be a playoff team in 2019. They failed miserably, in part because they decided to make Freddie Kitchens the head coach, all due respect. Now the bar's high again. And we just have to wait and see how the Browns handle that.
Right.
The fact that there are expectations. The fact that the Browns is no longer the applicable catchphrase.
Sure.
Teams will start circling Cleveland in a positive way, not, well, this is essentially a bye week. No, this is an A-game measuring stick week because everybody is on the Browns. And I don't know how they're going to deal with that. That they're going to have to, though, if they have aspirations to match the expectation that you have. And every team has that aspiration.
Yeah.
And they do it. I wouldn't bet against them at this point, but I want to see how they do, especially week one. They come out and beat the Chiefs week one.
Oh, yeah.
That's the shot heard around the football world.
No doubt about it. You're right. They got the talent to match up with them. They do. I think if we broke down both rosters and we went down position group by position group, I think it'd be a lot closer, if not advantage Cleveland, really, in some ways. I think it would be really close. But, yeah. Mike, that is the $1 million question. Success, how can they handle it, all of those type of things. You're right. From what we saw last year, though, I would think that they continue to handle it in the right way. I would. We saw maturity throughout the football team. We saw less, press conference antics from Baker Mayfield for the most part. We saw him really be a mature leader on and off the field. They really handled themselves on and off the field as an organization the right way all year. That's where I give Kevin Stefanski a lot of credit, And, yeah, they have a style of football that really fits their football team, their roster. It all makes sense. It really does. So that's where I come back to it to look at it and go, man, there is no excuses. You're right, though. They have reached a level, I think, of, yes, went to the playoffs, and players are smart enough to know, what they're going to look at, we got to play Cleveland this week, and they're going to look at the roster and see a little film and go, whoa, they're the real deal. We got to have a good week. So they're not going to sneak up on anybody. You're right about that, too. And it's going to be about how they can handle it. But I don't know. I'm expecting positive results. I really am.
let's rip through the position groups. And you mentioned Mayfield. Look, there was a lack of discipline in his game in 2019 generally, possibly because he wasn't getting the coaching that he needed, whether it was how to behave at press conferences or his footwork, his throwing mechanics. You would notice that he was kind of all over the place in 2019 when Freddie Kitchens was the coach. Where do you put the quarterbacks now, recognizing that Case Keenum is the backup in the event that there's an injury to Baker Mayfield?
Well, I mean, we got one of the best backups in football in Case Keenum. So even if Baker goes down, your team's not going to fall off, earth here. They're going to have a chance to still win football games and be successful. He knows the offense. He fits that. And then I think Baker Mayfield's on the edge of superstardom. I mean, for the way he played last year. I mean, he is certainly in that top 10-ish quarterback conversation. The one thing that I jumped out to me with Baker Mayfield when I went back and I'm doing my Chris Simms top 40 countdown. I watch film just to, hey, let me look at some things. Let me write some notes, things that jump out to me. I mean, Baker Mayfield's throwing, decision-making was top-notch last year. And, degree of difficulty throwing, Mike, was special. He wasn't getting, the Jared Goff, here's a guy 3 feet in front of me in the flat, or here's another guy in front of me in the flat and throw it to him and you run from there. It was roll out. Oh, there's a guy 23 yards down the field. He's got this much space. That's how much he's open by. Shoom, he just let a rifle out and throw it. Aggressive, high degree of difficulty throwing with high degree of success. I'm big on Baker right now. I'd be shocked if he doesn't hit the ground running.
And he got better as the year went on, and a lot of that was the Kevin Stefanski influence. Now you got a full offseason. Now Baker and other offensive players haven't been there for much of the offseason because of the whole NFLPA thing, and J.C. Treader, the starting center for the Browns, is the guy leading the charge to get guys to stay away. But the thinking is in year 2, he'll pick up where he left off and maybe continue his development. It is only his 4th NFL season. Running backs. Nick Chubb entering his 4th season, contract year. They have to figure out what to do with him. Kareem Hunt, they have him signed for several more years at a bargain basement price. They will be together for at least one more year. That's the best tandem in the NFL, right?
Right. I don't think anybody messes with this crew right here. There's no way. They do both things really well. And Kareem Hunt, we know he can even add more in the passing game. They're both number one starting running backs. I mean, it's special. They don't miss a beat when either guy comes out of the game. Chubb is amazing running between the tackles, and to me is one of the 3 or 4 best running backs in the game. And Hunt's just on the outside edge of that and has more value in the pass game. So, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, that's, to me, they're nobody. That's the best in the game.
Tight ends and receivers, fascinating with OBJ coming back. Jarvis Landry touting Beckham's overall preparedness and fitness and how he looks coming back from that torn ACL he suffered while trying to make a tackle against the Bengals fairly early in the season. Beyond Landry and OBJ, you've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashard Higgins. He signed a 1-year deal to stick around with the team. At tight end, you got Austin Hooper, big free agent acquisition a year or 2 ago. Harrison Bryant, David Njoku, who's in the final year of his rookie deal. This is a pretty good group as well. I mean, if OBJ's healthy.
Yeah, even if he's not healthy, it's a pretty good group. If he's healthy, you go, wait, this is one of the better units in football. I mean, you got 2 really good tight ends. You got both of them. We know those 2 receivers. Even if OBJ's not there, Higgins is real damn good too. Donovan Peoples-Jones showed a little bit of talent last year. Damn, the kid they drafted out of Auburn, Anthony Schwartz, this year in the draft, he can go. So, yes, another unit where you look at it and go, it's towards the top of football and can be scary good if OBJ is healthy, to what you say, to where you go, I mean, they have the potential to be, right, Mike? I mean, I don't know. You tell me if I'm crazy. Really one of the 2 or 3 best groups in football, I think, if OBJ comes through to the way we think he's capable of.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And holding it all together, the offensive line. The offensive line has to get it done if Baker Mayfield's going to have time to do what he needs to do, if the running backs are going to have holes to run through. What do we think about their offensive line relative to others?
In the conversation for the best in football, this is not like a broken record. This is real. You could argue it's the best guard combo in football with Bitonio and Wyatt Teller. You could go, there's not a 2 better on a team in the game. We know Treader is one of the best centers in football. And then Jack Conklin, who's one of the better right tackles in football. Jedrick Wills, he was good last year, not great, but he got better as the year went on. So you look at them and go, they already are a top 5 offensive line. Now that's just like, can they be the absolute best? Can they be a force like we saw the Cowboys 4 and 5 years ago, where it's just like, we knew they were going to run the ball with Ezekiel Elliott. There's nothing we could do. They just smashed us, and that was it. They have the chance to be that, to basically be like, hey, Kansas City, yeah, we're pulling this guard, and we're going to run Nick Chubb right here. There's nothing you can do about it. That's how good this group is. They could be that dominant.
And look, you still have to have a defense, or you're going to get into a bunch of shootouts, and it could be that the Browns end up in some high-scoring games, especially if their offense does what we think it can do. But defensively, with Myles Garrett, with Jadeveon Clowney, we know with Clowney comes the giant asterisk of him staying healthy.
Yeah.
But good Lord, the idea of those two guys, even if it's half the season, with Clowney and Garrett complementing that offense, I can see why Travis Kelce said what he said.
Right?
It isn't just pandering to the folks in Cleveland. I think he recognizes the Browns could be a force to be reckoned with this year.
I don't know how you can't. If you're just paying attention to football, and yeah, you're right, like Clowney, but we know Garrett's in the conversation for one of the best in football. They need like one of these D tackles to come through a little bit. Andrew Billings, a guy they got from the Bengals, 2 years ago, opted out, right? So now he's back in the fold. He could be a run stopper there in the middle for them and their team. They need a Jordan Elliott, who they drafted 2 years ago in the 3rd round of Missouri. Maybe a Malik Jackson helps out. They got it. It's just we gotta see just how good they're going to be there in the middle. We know on the edge they have a chance to be really special. But then you add into, like, they got Anthony Walker in free agency and got Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in the 2nd round, who we talked about a million times. I mean, he was definitely one of the 20 best players in the draft. He had a heart murmur and ended up falling to the 2nd. So they got a linebacker that fits their scheme perfectly, and you just go, damn, front 7. Really damn good. I'm not going to say top 5, but it's got the potential to be that.
Yeah, and that Owusu-Koramoah thing, they were thinking about taking him in round 1.
Yeah.
And all indications have been that the heart issue is a non-issue. Unbelievable to think how big of a steal he could be, how good that defense could be to go along with an offense. I mean, something special is brewing with the Browns. But I still hear Juju Smith-Schuster. And I think fans hear it too. The Browns is the Browns. You're so used to being beaten down. You're so used to the team being bad, whether you are on the outside or on the inside. There still is a kind of a wait and see. I think that's perfect, because even though the bar seems to be high, there's still that nagging doubt, and maybe that keeps guys motivated, keeps guys focused, keeps guys from getting complacent. And this team does go out and take over the AFC and maybe the NFL this year. It would be amazing if that happens.
I would think, like, the history is going to keep the team on edge a little bit. Like, they can't feel like, oh, we're here, we've arrived. So I would have a hard time believing that. And I would think the fan base is, to a degree, kind of going to be, a little nervous. Like, wait, what's going to happen? Are we going to crap the bed like we've seen us do here, like you've talked about, with expectations high, all of a sudden we fall apart? I have a hard time believing that. But, like this generation of people, or anybody really younger than me, I mean, they have no reason to think Cleveland can turn around or do anything good. Again, we grew up in an era where, in the early 80s, the mid-80s, all through the 80s, the history of the Browns was relevant then in the 60s and 70s, but the 80s, they were damn good. I mean, they were a Super Bowl contender for the last half, more than the last half of that decade. And so the modern day kid, the kid that's born around the 2000s, they got no clue that Cleveland's ever been, worth a damn other than Jim Brown.
The back-to-back AFC Championship game losses to the Broncos, from the drive to the fumble, and they were there. And then, of course, that team became the Ravens and won a couple of Super Bowls, but you're not allowed to say that. Ravens fans get upset when they're reminded that they were once the Browns. Browns fans get upset that the Ravens is the Browns, not the Browns is the Browns. But before we put a bow on this, secondary. I mean, look, great front 7. And when you have a great front 7, you don't need a great secondary. You and I could play in the secondary, but they got guys a lot better than you and I.
They do.
in the secondary right now.
That's where like they play that Seattle scheme where we talk about you don't need a lot of great man-to-man corners, but they got a guy in Denzel Ward who, if he can stay healthy, is one of the 10 best cover corners in the game. So he's like, that's legit. And then the fact that they got Greg Newsome, a big, long, great ball skills corner from Northwestern in the first round, like again, it's just another position group where you go, okay, yeah, it's not proven, but, man, the talent's there. It's real. I mean, John Johnson and free agency from the Rams to get him. Grant Delpit was a second-round pick from 2 years ago. Tore his ACL last year in training camp. He'll be ready to go. So a little bit of an unproven commodity there. Greedy Williams was hurt most of last year. But, like, man, top-end, young, speed, talent, it's there. That might be the biggest question mark on the team, though, just because it's a little unproven, right? But I think it's just like, okay, let's see what they got. But I don't question it and go, oh, they're undermanned. They got issues here. You know, I still go, wow, there's great potential here for this to be one of the better units in football. Troy
Browns
Hill
have the potential to
Holy
be
cow.
one of the best teams in football. Amazing.
Yeah.
If it does, I can't. It's going to take us a while to get used to it, but start getting used to it because the Browns are coming.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.